Hey everyone, I hope you're well. Today we are going to be painting some Imperial Fists. So I've been steadily working on an Imperial Fist force. So for today I would take you through how I get Imperial Fists on the tabletop, nice and simple, nice and quick, and to a tabletop standard. So I hope you enjoy this video and let's paint. So to start with, I've primed the model AK black, and I've also sub-assembled the head, which I'm going to paint red later. Now, the airbrush I'm using today is Gallery's Seeker airbrush with a 0.5mm needle. I've been using this airbrush for about a month now. It's been a fantastic airbrush to use, and it's actually replaced my day-to-day Iwata that I've had previously. They've been kind enough to provide a 10% discount code to all my viewers, which you can find in the description below, and it also helps support the channel. So laying down our foundation, we're going to be giving this an all-over coat of AK's magenta, and this is going to be our shadow tone. So just make sure we go over with a few passes and we've got a nice solid layer of this. I'm also going to do the helmet as well. Now we've got that nice solid base coat of magenta, I'm going to be using AK white to lay down a zenithal on all the high places that are going to be most directly hit by light. And this is just to build up a nice vibrant base for our yellow tone that's going to go over the top. Now I would normally use a titanium white ink to do this step, but I'm using an acrylic because I'm going to be using a speed paint wash later, and I don't want thin layers of the ink to reactivate. So this is why I'm using an acrylic for this stage, but I'm just going to take my time and build up some nice volumetric highlights across the miniature until I've got an outcome in which I'm happy with. And with that stage done, you should have something that looks like this. So as you can see, we've still got this lovely magenta in the darkest shadow areas, but we've got a bright white from the top down. So the color we're going to be using for our yellow is going to be a volcanic yellow from AK. And it's this lovely kind of warm orangey yellow, but I've thinned this very heavily in the airbrush, and I'm just going to slowly build up the layers across the miniature, and slowly with each pass, I'm going to intensify the coverage of this yellow. I want to take my time here because I don't want any spider webbing, but I want to try and keep as much of that magenta in the shadows that I can. So we don't want to overdo this step and turn the whole model yellow in its entirety. We just want to make sure that we are really just aiming for where we have that previous white layer and building the yellow up in those areas so that we can still keep some of that shadow. And you'll see as this yellow builds up, it starts to turn this beautiful, deep, rich, orangey yellow, which I just think is absolutely fantastic. Now for the helmet, I've mixed blood red in my airbrush, and it's quite heavily thinned again, and I'm just going to be doing the same thing as I did for the yellow armor, and just spraying this, hitting the white zenithal that we've already laid down. And with that, we've got our yellow applied over the top of that magenta, and you can see the contrast between the shadows and the yellow is really lovely. And we've got our helmet here, which is now zenithal with that beautiful blood red. We're going to set this to one side for the moment and come back to that later and focus more on the armor itself now. So I'm using AK's medium rust, and where we've got those shadows, I'm just going to be applying this medium rust color into the areas between the yellow and the magenta now, just to blend those in and to also create a bit more variation and contrast. And what you get is this lovely kind of warm orange that starts to build up in the shadows, and it makes that yellow armor pop even further. So don't overdo this stage, just take your time. I'm using my airbrush at about a 20 PSI, so it's not coming through too quickly. And just slowly work your way around the model, just keeping an eye on not turning the majority of the armor panels that kind of orange color. And with that done, you should have something that looks like this. So you can see we're already starting to get that warmth into the armor now. But I've made sure to leave some of that magenta still showing in the recesses. So I haven't just blasted the whole model with this medium rust into the shadow. I want to make sure that I keep a bit of that variation through as well. Now, next step is a simple one. I'm just going to black out the bolter, the little kind of lenses at the top here, and any other black elements ready for the metallic stage. So I'm just taking AK black, and I'm using a Artis Opus Series 3, Series S, sorry, size 3 brush, and I'm just going to go around and black out all these details. And then for the gold elements, I'm using Necro Gold from scale 75. So for the Aquila, and then any of the other kind of ornate parts of the Terminator are going to get a nice solid covering of this Necro Gold. And with that Necro Gold applied, I'm then going to use Jet Exhaust from Vallejo just to do the places like the gun barrels and the little insignia on the side of the bolter, but also to do the vents on the back of the armor panel here as well. This is a very kind of dark, dirty petroleum metal color, which I think it looks really great when you don't want anything that's too kind of bright and shiny and wants still a little bit of tarnish to it. And now all the metallics are applied. So we've got that lovely jet exhaust across the silver elements and that Necro Gold across all the ornate elements of the model. I've also done his power fist with the jet exhaust as well, because I just think metal power fists look cool. So not for everybody, but I think they look great. With the mask, I have just painted in the front grille there and those little rivets on the side ready for a wash too. So all I'm going to do now is use Vallejo satin varnish, give this an all over coat, and this is just to protect the armor that we've done so far, because that medium rust was applied quite thinly as well, so I don't want anything reactivating. So it's just an extra step I like to take to make sure that doesn't happen, because we don't want, after all this hard work, the paint to start reactivating with the wash stage. So I'm going to give it a coat of satin varnish, let it dry for about 30 minutes so I know it's nice and cured, and then we can come back ready for our wash. Okay, so I've gone away for about 20 minutes. The satin varnish is completely dried now. Come back with a much needed coffee, ready for the next stage. But I'm using hardened leather and Lamium medium as my wash. So it's about 1 part hardened leather to 4 parts Lamium medium. And I'm just mixing this on my wet palette. But for the rest of the army, I probably will make up a little batch of this. And we're just going to be washing the whole model now. So just taking it panel by panel and just being sure not to allow it to pull too heavily in any of the recesses. And if you do see it kind of sitting on top of these kind of higher areas, I've just whipped away my brush and I'm just dragging it out of those areas into one of the recesses so it can sit there instead. So you want to just take your time with this step as you move around. But as I said, I'm just going from like single area to single area, panel to panel, just to make sure that we don't end up with any kind of tide marks at all where we don't want them. Now there is going to be one last airbrush stage to the armor, which is going to help blend things together and really make the armor pop. So don't worry too much if it's not perfect. We're going to be covering up any kind of mistakes in the next stage. But obviously the more neat you can be at this moment, the better. So take your time, work your way around the armor, and then we'll move on to our next stage. Okay, and that wash stage is now all dry. And as you can see, it's really brought out all the details of the armor. And you can see as well that I've been very careful not to allow any kind of big tide marks on any of the flatter surfaces. So it's really important you take your time with that stage. Now, the secret sauce to this yellow armor is going to be this color here, which is one of my favorites, which is Fire Orange ink from AK. And this is where we're gonna breathe a lot of kind of that hot orange glow into the armor. And it's also gonna help tie together any of those sort of areas where you've got a bit of a tide mark still from the wash stage. So I've got my airbrush here to about 20 PSI, and I'm just gonna really be going over those medium rust areas that I did before. But as you'll see with the leg here, for example, when I start to apply this orange over the top, it acts as a filter, so you still get the wash recess shade from before, but it really adds a lot of warmth to the panels. So take your time with this, and again, we don't want to overdo it. We just want a select few areas to further increase the contrast between the shadow color and the highest points of that bright yellow armor. And with that fire orange applied, you should have something that looks like this. And you can see how much warmth and vibrancy that's brought to the armor now, but you've still got this lovely magenta in all of the shadows. And I just think it adds so much drama. I wanted just to show you my banner here that I've been working on as well, just to show you how this color scheme can really be used to pull your eye into the direction of where you want the focus of the model to be. And I just love the way that this finishes. So all we're going to do now is I'm going to gloss varnish this model with Ard Coat, apply some decals, and then give it another layer of gloss just to seal them, and we can move on to the next stage. Okay, all those decals are now applied, and we've sealed it all with another coat of gloss varnish. Now, I did use a little spray of dark Prussian blue followed by snow blue just to do the little vents on the back. So two colors. The snow blue just inside the area of the dark Prussian blue, and it gives this really lovely kind of glow from the heat exhausts. The decals I've used, some of them are from the 40k kits, but some of them are also from the Horus Heresy kit. So like these numeral ones here that I've used, and this Imperial Fists Heresy sheet of decals is incredible. So I highly advise picking that up if you want something that's a little bit different to what you can get on the very much smaller 40k decal sheet. I've also done a little decal on the helmet as well. Now, for the eye lenses and the lenses on the rest of the miniature, I'm just going to give them a little coat of ice yellow. Very gently, just kind of in the middle of the lens where they have been blacked out. Just like so. And I'm also going to do the same for the top little lenses here as well, which is just a little bit of a dot of ice yellow in each. And then I'm going to take Shamrock Green, which is an Army Painter speed paint, and just put a layer of this straight over the top into all the recesses and across the ice yellow. And this Shamrock Green is really lovely, vibrant green. So it's a one and done situation with this one. You could use Warp Lightning from Citadel as well. And I'm just kind of pulling the extra pigment just to the back of the lens to allow that ice yellow to shine through. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the lenses on the little antenna array here. Just pulling away from the middle part of the lens so that it has its brightest point there where you have that ice yellow. I've now attached the head to the model and we're almost done. The last step here is I've taken some turquoise lights and mineral spirits, and I've just mixed them in the back of a spare base that I had, and this is my go-to verdigris color. So I don't want too much on my brush here, but I'm just going to tap this to the areas in which I want a little bit of color variation. And with our Terminator based, he is now complete. And for the time spent on this miniature, which without waiting for drying time was probably around an hour and a half. I think he looks excellent. Obviously this base I have built separately. There is a tutorial of how I do these bases on my YouTube channel, so please go and check that out if you're interested to know how I put these bases together. I love building bases. It's like world building for me, so it's a part of the hobby I thoroughly enjoy. But I think he looks wonderful, and I'm really happy with this armor recipe that I've created. And I think the secret sauce, as I said, is that fire orange ink from AK. Love to know what you think in the comments down below. As always, I do read and respond to all of them, and I really appreciate the feedback. Thank you again to those who are supporting me on Patreon. It's a small channel at the moment, but you guys really do help allow me to do more stuff like this in and around my full-time job. So I do really appreciate it, and I thank you all for your support so far. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I do look forward to seeing you all in the next one, and yeah, have a wonderful week.